Hi, I'm Donna Roberts. I'm the Chief Digital and Information Officer from Betsy Cadwallader University Health Board, and I'm joined by
Dr. Sakkarai Ambalavanan, Medical Information Officer and Consultant Physician in BCU.
This is the second video of a series of 5 which lays out our EPR strategic direction. Starts with some of the problems that we want to solve and then proposes ways forward to address those. In video number 1, Ambu described the current state of the clinical issues and problems that we have with our information and information systems. This presentation is about the current IT applications and from an information technology perspective situation, and the result of an assessment we've done of all the current applications we've got across our estate. So the conclusion from our assessment and our discovery exercise is we've discovered and found that we've got 380 plus clinical and business applications which are key to the running of the health board. 55% of these are deemed by the users and our own assessments as critical. Of concern is that 30% of these from our IT assessment are considered to be high risk. High risk in terms of, are they supportable? Could they fall over and potentially not be recovered? Are they out of contract? And various other considerations. We have not got, or we haven't got prior to this piece of work, clear roadmaps around what we are doing to replace these systems, or we have not necessarily had full visibility of when some of these systems become obsolete. The conclusion is, of course, that we've got a best of breed environment across BCU, where there are many niche applications which might have been brought to meet a particular requirement in a particular area, may have done a good job at the time in those particular areas, but the issue is they have negligible integration between them, which means that what we've got is an abundant amount of data silos, data duplication, and quality. A patient's record could be spread across multiple systems, for instance, which is something Ambu alluded to in his presentation, and therefore we might have issues of how up to date or the issue of data quality across those different silos. We recognise and know, as Ambu alluded to, in the clinical aspects, they do not support joined up clinical care as well as they could. And also importantly, they do not provide that single longitudinal lifetime view of the patient record, in particular in a codified format. As well as discovering all of these applications, who the application owner is, who the information asset owner is as well, which is a GDPR requirement, we've applied an assessment to these applications using Gartner's proven time methodology. And that looks at the technical quality and condition of an application. And by that, we also consider things like whether or not it's supportable, the contract and all of that. And also looks at the business value, or in our case, of course, sometimes means the clinical value of what that application delivers. And it gives us in a quadrant there, informs our plan as to whether or not we tolerate an application, whether or not we invest in it, whether or not we eliminate it, or whether or not we look to migrate from it. And it gives us the ability to come up with a forward look and ultimately a 1 or 2 or a 3 year plan. Just to give you some demonstration, and we used an external third party to help us with this work, who've got experience of doing these assessments. Clearly, there are various criteria we need to look at in terms of determining what the state of a current application is. So here's an example of 30, and you can see there the different categorizations we've used and how we've rated some of those to come up with the conclusions in terms of technical obsolescence or risks, etc. We should note as well, of course, that legacy applications also introduce, as is well known, cybersecurity risks and vulnerabilities, and there is a necessity for us to be refreshing these applications at a higher frequency than we've ever done before. So our ability to sweat the assets as we have in the past is limited, and this is why 30% of our applications, and that so far, are considered to be at high risk. We also need to remember that we're part of the Welsh system overall, and there is a national applications landscape. The approach in Wales has been traditionally to go for a best of breed approach to applications, where particular applications have done a really good job for a particular purpose. However, in the same way as BCU have got challenges from a cybersecurity point of view and the like, there are also challenges for DHCW and us all, in that many of these applications and technologies will become legacy over time and will need to be addressed. Also, we have got issues of integration between these applications, and although we've got some great capabilities like the Welsh Clinical Portal, which might provide a joined up view of patient information from different systems, it is not necessarily a combined record.
Could I just check? Our HIMSS assessment assessor was talking about a clinical data repository upon which clinical decision support systems might be able to hang on. How does that sit in with this landscape? Do we have a single clinical data repository?
Yes. The situation with that is that no, we do not have a single clinical data repository or codified record. If, as per some of what you were talking about in video number 1, if you wanted to, for instance, point clinical decision support systems or AI or algorithms onto a combined clinical data repository or record, that is not something we could necessarily do right now in Wales. A lot of the actual codified information is held in different formats in different systems. We can, however, as you know, Ambu, use things like the Welsh Clinical Portal to potentially provide a combined view, but what we haven't necessarily got is a combined record. And that, of course, is something we would be hoping to incrementally address as part of our approach here. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Great. So coming back to the presentation, as we can see there, a myriad of best of breed applications, which also need to be considered alongside all of the BCU ones as well. So the conclusion of our application assessment work is that we do now have, and I would suggest we're probably 90% there if we're honest about it, and it's taken us some months to do this and it's not straightforward. We do now have, at least we do have now visibility control of all our applications, especially the ones which are critical to business and clinical delivery. So that is a valuable thing in itself. We do understand our current state. We have the ability and we have started developing an informed plan for applications rationalization and risk mitigation. However, that is really based on the IT risks and issues. So we do need to think about what is our approach to move from our current state to future state. Do we need to take a more combined approach to maybe start creating that clinical data repository or a different future state? We are aware, which is great, about obsolescence awareness, as we're calling it. So we have got now, at least we've got visibility where, yes, 30% of our systems are probably near obsolete or presenting some risks now. That number is going to go up as time moves on, but at least we've got an awareness of that. And I think it's really important as well that what's good about our position now, with due regard to the clinical perspective in video number 1, we've also got a good baseline position of our applications landscape and our current state, so we can think about where we want our future state to be. So that's the end of that section. Is there any other final questions about that you want to ask, Ambu, or does that cover it?
So just worried when you said some of this critical clinical function delivering applications, risk of failure. So risk mitigation, you touched on that. Is that reverting back to paper? Do we go back on buying other systems?
Well,
how are we going to cope with that?
Well, what we're doing right now, and it's worth noting as well that as far as the health board are concerned, we have recorded both a board assurance framework risk and an operational risk at the highest level, which is tracked at board now around the risk of major failures. The big challenge that we've got is the necessary finances that would be required to address this issue immediately, as well as our capacity as an organisation to go through the necessary change to do that. But what we've had to do, and working with our emergency preparedness and response teams within the health board, we've had to make sure at the same time, in parallel with this work, I've been working very hard to make sure that every single area of the health board have got up-to-date business continuity plans, because we're not going to be able to fix this overnight. But if a system does fall over, at least we'll have some clear continuity arrangements, which actually, unfortunately, is different depending on where you are and what the system is. Does that help to answer the question? It's not ideal, but at least from a continuity point of view, we've got some of those plans in place.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll close the video there.